Mr. B.
It's the Social Millennial Podcast. We out here. Gang. Y'all, I hope you had a great week. It's raining right now in NYC. If you like that kind of thing, then more power to you. I hope it's raining where you're at. And if you don't, I hope it's the desired weather where y'all is at. Now, this episode is going, or is not as going to, but when you see it, whether it's the visual component or the audio, you will notice that the numbering convention of these episodes has changed. Last week's episode would have been 55 if you're listening to this on Spotify, Google's not around, YouTube podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get served your podcasts. Or if you're watching the visual component, what up to y'all, shout out. You'll see that last week's episode is number 55. This week's episode is number 57. I don't know if I said 51 or 50 in the previous episode, but as you read in the titles, you will see, wait, is there a number that's been skipped? Like, where's number 56? I did not see that. I don't know why I'm doing a William Shatner impression, but it's because we are on Patreon now, y'all. I pulled the trigger. We pulled the trigger. Told y'all from last year that it was coming, that we're going to be offering more and more content, not just of this show, this podcast, but under my umbrella, Marcus Pena Presents. There will be other shows, other podcasts that will be presented over at our Patreon. I'm going to be getting into gaming, going to be doing a YouTube gaming channel, going to be letting you in on some of the behind the scenes of developing my EPs because I'm trying to drop multiple this year. Yeah, head on over there. The link is going to be in the description. You'll see Patreon wherever you guys are. For some of y'all, it will show up as the word Patreon and you just tap on it or click on it as a hyperlink. For others, you'll see the entire link there. Click on that. There is currently a supporter tier for membership. It's about $3 if I'm not mistaken. If maybe you don't want the bonus episode, but you enjoy the podcast and the version that you enjoy it, and you want this project to continue, you want the podcast to continue to grow, you believe in the brand, you feel me? You want the brand to get strong, and you want the brand to eat its Wheaties, definitely subscribe and become a member at the supporter level. If it is that you want the bonus episode. Now, disclaimer, the bonus episode is going to be where I am migrating all of my extra spicy takes. All of my extra spicy interests are going to go over there. The language is going to be a bit more colorful. What we talk about is going to be a bit more colorful. It's going to be, letting our hair down, not really caring too much about being censored and self-censorship. That's the bonus episode. So when y'all go over there, everything that we can't say on YouTube and that we can't say in certain other platforms that might get us demonetized, it's going to be over at the Patreon. So that's what you'll be getting. Currently, there will be more being added. I've got some rant videos coming out. I'm going to be doing some movie commentaries, some film reviews, etc., all under different banners, but served at that Patreon. So absolutely follow, even if it's just a supporter membership level, hit that supporter membership level. So then maybe you can set up your notifications. So when there are other tiers of content that I'm going to be dropping, you'll be able to jump on that. I'm wanting to serve as many as I can with the content that I'm making, that I'm putting out there, because I'm a multi-talented guy, I guess, not to toot my own horn here, but I am a multi-talented dude. There's a lot of things that I do, and of the things that I do, I want to do them more for you. So we're behind a paywall. All right, y'all. Head on over there. It might look a little generic and standard. I didn't really throw my logo up there yet. I didn't throw a cover image there yet. But I assure you, our first bonus episode is there. Now, you could go to shop when you get there. You could click over to the shop tab and purchase each episode separately, or each piece of the content that I'll be putting on there separately. But I urge you, it's going to be more expensive if you purchase it separately. Head on over to click that membership bar. It might be a bar on the desktop. I don't really remember how it quite looks on the desktop, but definitely on mobile. There is Patreon, the Patreon app for mobile. And it'll be a nice little gray thing. You tap on it and hit those memberships. It might even be on the tabs. Just scroll over, you hit the memberships, and then subscribe to whichever tier you want to. So that's why this episode is episode number 57, not episode number 56. Now we got that out of the way. Welcome, y'all. Anybody who's listening or watching the visual component, what's up, YouTube? For the first time, this is the Social Millennial Podcast. Hot takes, cold takes, just kind of a kickback, chill out, talk about things that interested me, things that kind of baked my noodle this week, and maybe some lessons that I've learned, some experiences. Sometimes I'll recommend some cool pieces of media that for y'all to go watch because it's pretty heat. Other times I won't. I talk about a lot of different kinds of things. This is a very general sit down and chill. Sometimes I'll talk about Eric Adams and NYC because we're based out of NYC. Sometimes I'll talk about politics. Sometimes I'll bring forward some science discoveries that interested me because I'm also a very avid science lover. Sometimes I'll talk about music, celebrities, etc. Just things that interest me. Sometimes mixed martial arts, sports, the world of sports. So it's really a grab bag every episode. I hope that with whatever information I give y'all, I'm keying you into some cool stuff. And if not, then it is what it is. But thank y'all so much. We would only ask, or our only ask, is that you like the podcast wherever you can like it, whether it's, you're listening to the audio and you have the ability to heart it or to like it, give us a thumbs up. The visual component, YouTube, give us a thumbs up, like it. Comment wherever you can in whatever or with whatever platform that you partake in this podcast from. Comment, like, subscribe / follow, depending on what platform that you're on. We want to hear from you. We want to hear if you liked something. Let us know in the comments what your opinions are about XYZ things. Do you agree with me? Maybe you don't. Maybe you disagree. We want to hear it. Let us know. We're not asking for much. Now I'm not asking, mad money for you to partake in the content. This content is free. This side of the content, completely free and clear, and will continue to be completely free and clear. So we will continue with our free episodes once a week. Then head on over to the Patreon to get the spicy episodes. So we're doing 2 episodes a week, but 1 is free and will continue to be free. All right, y'all. At the time of this episode dropping, which for us is Eastern Standard Time, is a Friday. It's Friday morning. The Patreon bonus episode will also be available. They are available at the same time on the same day. All right, y'all. So absolutely head on over there and support your boy. So let's get on into it. We initiated those who are new. Let me not even get into it yet. For those who are repeat viewers and listeners, thank y'all so much for being here for however long that you've been here. As I develop this brand, you feel me? Y'all are where it's at. Shout out to y'all. And now let's get into it. All right. So I'm not going to be too long-winded, or at least I don't think so. I've said that so many times before in this podcast, fam. And then I go on. I had one that was 2 hours long, which was wild. And I swear to myself that I would not ever subject y'all again to a 2-hour podcast. That was having to do with the Marvels. Oh my gosh, that movie was on another level. But hopefully not too wild. I'm kind of going to be, I might be repeating myself with my sentiments here. But NYC is going through it. Now, I say NYC is going through it because the people are going through it. I think, local government is kind of doing what they've been planning on doing. So it's not really that local government is in peril. Y'all already know the sentiment on this channel, on this YouTube channel. Y'all already know the sentiment on this podcast in the audio format. We are not here for Eric Adams. Eric Adams is trash. He can go kick rocks and go disappear somewhere because he's actually been on his face mismanaging New York City. We thought that we couldn't get worse than Mayor de Blasio, and we've gotten worse than Mayor de Blasio, unfortunately. Hochul is not far behind either. But let's get into it. All right, some NYC news. So we're going to talk about, it's going to funnel into the migrant crisis, quote unquote crisis. I say quote unquote because the Biden administration invited this. The sanctuary cities invited this. So it's not really a crisis. Like, y'all put yourselves into this predicament. Money is not unlimited. Yeah. we look at other episodes. I've gone into depth with that, but this is according to the New York Post. Oh, and also for those who are new, I will put all of the links to the articles that I'm reading from for these stories down into the description, so y'all could read it for yourselves and form your own opinions. Put it all together for yourself. The last thing I need is for y'all to always take my word for it regarding hard and fast facts. I like to present them and also give them to you for your own consideration. So this was published February 27th, 2024, New York Post. Migrant security guards paid up to $117 an hour as NYC taxpayers fleeced by no-bid contracts rushed out by City Hall. Audit reveals. I mean, pretty much the headline says it all for this one, but I am definitely going to read some of these details. Security guards at city migrant shelters are being paid upwards of $117 an hour, more than 4 times the prevailing wage, under rushed, no-bid contracts being doled out by Mayor Eric Adams' administration to deal with the crisis. A new audit shows the deals inked under the city's emergency contracting system have allowed various for-profit companies to charge exorbitant rates for migrant shelter staffing with very little oversight and vetting, leading to taxpayers being fleeced out of millions of dollars, according to the report. So basically, the Eric Adams, the office of the mayor, has been just doling out willy-nilly without doing any. They did no contract bids, put it under, this emergency thing so that they have the ability to just do no bid contracts, so they could basically just give out the contract to whoever they kind of want to whoever wants it. When you have bids or when you do bids for contracts, you can kind of in terms of the contractor, the contractee, the contractor. I'm bugging. The one giving the one setting up that has set up the contract and is in need of the work. They when you have it be like a bid, you're able to control the amount that you're going to pay to the people. Like you're going to say, okay, I need to do this work at this, and then see who can get close to the amount of money that you're talking about. As a way of saving money. As a way of regulating how much funds are going out and keeping pay sort of even across the board. When you go haphazard like this, you tend to, without oversight, without back checking, with wages and so on, you can very easily find yourself overpaying for services. And that's what happened here, or according to this independent audit, that's what's been happening since the migrant shelters opened. Let's get a little bit more detail. I'm going to scroll down. Okay. The result is that city agencies likely spent millions of dollars more than necessary for the same services. And this was the Comptroller's review. They reviewed the city's 4 highest cost deals. And found that supervisors and security staff at various asylum seeker shelters were being paid wildly different rates, despite delivering the same exact services. Now, the savings is wild because annualized, if they had went with more city workers to be security and to staff these places, annualized, the savings would total approximately $50 million if certain staffing had been provided by hiring city employees rather than through the emergency contract. Now, why I'm reading this, there's some more details to the story, just having to do with breaking down what specifically has been going on. The Comptroller's office estimates that certain staffing costs to provide services to asylum seekers at the Row Hotel were approximately 2.5 times higher under an emergency contract with SLSCO than if the city had delivered those same services with city employees. So we have a lot of the breakdown in the rest of this article. Now, let's think about this, right? All right. You're supposed to be leading or taking care of New Yorkers, right? You take an oath as the mayor. A lot of the members of the administration take oaths as well. we're at this point in the situation that's going on now with this with the migrant problem that the administration clearly doesn't want to solve. They thought that they were going to try to garner brownie points or sympathy points by calling it a crisis, branding it a crisis. Didn't really work too well. They thought they were going to get sympathy points by then saying that they were petitioning the Biden administration, the federal government, for more funding to help deal with them or to help work with them, but that the Biden administration was not trying to hear them. They were trying to get sympathy. I don't really give them much sympathy. Most people don't. And recently there's been a slew of announcements as to how Eric Adams wants to provide for these migrants and the level or the amounts of funds that he wants to divert from city programs that are meant to help our citizens of the United States and New Yorkers, wants to divert it and fund putting money into the migrants' pockets. And that funding would be greater than any of the other funding of the city or spending of the city for any of the other programs that the city runs, to help families, to help the homeless, cancer research, a whole lot of things. They want to pull all the money out of there and then make it that we are funding migrants as our prime priority. So they do that, right? Then boots on the ground interviews are now uncovering that, and this is like from the news, television news, not just independent news media. Boots on the ground interviewing people, and the migrants are saying that they're getting free healthcare. They don't have to pay anything. These migrants don't have a social security card. They don't have a visa. A lot of them don't even have an application for asylum on the books, which is interesting. People have forgotten that statistic that we got. It was in maybe 3-4 episodes ago, where the Adams administration was they wanted to make it that they were trying to convert them into workers as fast as possible, like to be part of the working economy of New York City as fast as possible. So they opened up this application process for them to maybe get work visas. And out of the 800 people or something that applied for it, all 800 failed their application process. And that's only 800 migrants out of the 40, 50, 60, 70,000 that were here that even decided to apply for that, which is wild. So it speaks to the point that not a lot of these asylum migrants are not really asylum seekers. Like, they don't really have paperwork on the books. So we get all of that, right? All that's happening, trying to divert funds, already diverting funds, already using a wild amount of funds, which is why they were trying to petition the Biden administration for more money for the state and for the city. And Eric Adams has been petitioning Hochul for more money from the state, to then find out that they hired these private security companies to staff these places. Mind you, too, when you look up online and you find people trying to interview migrants and trying to go into these shelters to interview people to understand what it's like inside the shelters, etc., these security teams and these security companies are not just hired to be security in terms of the building for the people inside, like their own little private police force, but they're really hired to keep people out of the buildings, out of the shelters. You'll see every single time. It was recent. I don't remember. Was it Fox or was it News 12? They walked over with Curtis Sliwa to the shelters, and Sliwa was telling them, "Listen, they're not letting us in. The mayor's office is spending or reallocating all of our taxpayer monies to these people that cross the border illegally, are not being penalized. They cross the border illegally without asylum paperwork on the books, are not being penalized, are not being deported, are being housed, clothed, they're being immunized, they're being offered free health care, they're being offered welfare, they're being offered SNAP, and now the mayor wants to give them money cards into the tune of thousands of dollars for each person. They're doing all of this, diverting all of this to help people who are not New Yorkers. They're taking food out of New Yorkers' mouth, out of the needy of New York, and putting it into their mouths. But the New Yorkers themselves are not allowed to inquire about the interiors or what goes on with these shelters, because these security companies are hired to push people out, to keep people out of the buildings. We don't want you, meaning they don't want you to see what goes on, which is wild. And this is not anecdotal. This is verifiable. This was recent. This interview, they did a walking interview with Curtis Lewa, and he showed them. They went to, there was one in Manhattan. There was one out in the field. I forgot which field in Brooklyn. And they walked up. They were just standing outside of it, you know, with the film crew, with the reporter asking the questions like, yeah, this is what this is supposed to be public land for New Yorkers. And they co-opted it to create this shelter facility without New Yorkers voting or anything on it. And he said, and we can't even go in. They're not going to let us. And the lady was like, really? Oh, and while they were talking to each other, while she was interviewing him outside of the place, not inside, they weren't even going in. They closed the doors and locked the doors of the place to not let the cameras come inside of there. Wild. So I'm not just anecdotal. This is not like a conspiracy theory thing. This has been happening. I mean, you can go on TikTok, you can go on IG, you can find all of these people who are reporting about this and see what happens to them. So it's wild that the city already diverting all of these funds, already using funds, taking food out of needy Americans, needy New Yorkers' mouths, to put it into these, to make these people the priority. Also said, we have free money under this under emergency contracting. Whoever wants it, come and get it. Instead of having an oversight committee during these emergency times, or as they might have deemed it emergency times, to look at the books, look at what can be spent, and basically balance the budget, so that we don't go into a crazy deficit. So that we don't go into crazy deficits, so that the city is not strapped for cash, so that public services do not suffer because of this. Because remember, and it was a few episodes ago, that Adams was talking about after school programs were going to suffer staffing, and they want parents to step up. That security guards in the schools were going to downsize because of the budget. That police officer population was going to downsize because of the budget. We're not going to have any more new academy classes because of the budget, because they're diverting all this money to this migrant crisis, which isn't really a crisis. They told them to come, and they accepted the buses when the buses came, even though they had no infrastructure set up. Eric Adams was seemed to be in no way, shape, or form interested in creating an infrastructure, a bureau, etc., to handle this specific thing if they were going to take them in. It is a gross mismanagement, and it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're at. It's gross negligence and mismanagement of people. It's really inhumane to then bring them from the dangers of where they were at, or allow them to come from the dangers of where they were at, to come over here and basically be in danger as well. And they want to say, oh, well, we have the hotels, but for families, for women and children. So you got all these dudes out here in limbo because of the Biden administration, leaving them in limbo. Biden said we could come. That's what they were saying. And now the administration is not saying anything about doing anything moving forward. So of course they're going to resort to crime. Of course there's going to be now organized crime happening in New York City at an unprecedented level, which is true. It's not anecdotal. It's not anecdotal. There was/is a whole ring of individuals that the NYPD believes to be an organized group. I forget if they were Brooklyn, Queens, or Bronx, that ride on mopeds and look to rob people while they're driving the mopeds. Whether it's grabbing your phone, grabbing your purse, and driving off with it. They've seen the same people, the same dudes all over. So they understand that this is something organized happening. There's a few other ones too that have been reported. I mean, these are things that you can look up. YouTube, News 12 covers it. ABC 7's been covering it. They've been putting out APBs to find people. The Times Square attacks it's a thing. It's a thing. And I know some people, and I've already gone back and forth with someone, you know, trying to kind of white knight for what's happening. And they're like, oh, well, it's propaganda, or it's a conspiracy theory because most immigrants don't commit crimes. You know, crime is going up because of the American citizens that are there who are more likely to commit crimes. And I'm like, that's not wrong. That's not wrong, because when you have immigrant communities that live here, like I'll speak for NYC, immigrant communities that live here, meaning it is a grouping of people over time that have decided to all live together because they share a common heritage and a common language. That's why you have our Chinatowns, our Koreatowns. Not that's why, that's one of the reasons why. Other reasons why have to do with old school laws and segregation and racial prejudice, etc. But you have your Chinatowns, you have your Koreatowns, you have, you know, you go to the North Bronx, it's predominantly Jamaican and West Indian, etc. Right? Those ideas and those stats ring true for communities that have been here. So they come here, they get citizenship, or they're asylum seekers, or maybe they came illegally, but they have asylum on the papers, but they have family already over here. So the family houses them. To a certain extent, the community that had already been built, the immigrant community that had already been built here, is assimilated culturally to a certain respect with what happens here in America and here in the city. But in recent years, we've had a huge influx of immigrants who are illegal, who did not file paperwork, meaning they're just coming in, give me everything for free, slap me with the citizenship. I'm here. This is what Biden said was going to happen. Instead of going through the proper channels, the immigrants themselves are grouped together in a hotel. They're not assimilated into, say, the Latino culture that's here specifically, just to give an example. They're not. So they're still coming with the mentality from where they were at. So it stands to reason, if you're coming out of criminality and you're coming out of these kinds of places from where you came from, these young guys, these young people, these military aged boys and men may resort to criminality here. So it isn't necessarily that I would ever hold the point that, oh, you know, illegal aliens or immigrants, like every single one of them is a criminal. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But we do have to call a spade and see things as balanced as we can possibly see them. And it is, unfortunately, what is happening on boots on the ground here in NYC at the very least. You've got these military aged men and boys. Some of them are very belligerent. We've seen it on camera. They found some of the people for the 42nd Street attack, the Times Square attack, and these dudes are coming out. I mean, they're flipping the bird to the cameras. They really don't care. So anyway, I feel like I went off on a tangent, but it's wild, or wildly telling, in terms of there is an agenda afoot where Mayor Adams / the state / the city funds will be diverted or from caring for Americans who need it, the mentally ill, the homeless, you know, single mothers and children, you know, orphan children, a lot of people who are just in need. A lot of public services to pull from that to give to people who came here illegally. And not just that, they in the state and city government enriched specific companies who clearly the company saw that there was an opening and said, I'm going to take advantage of this, pay us X amount of money to do your stuff. And the city didn't go, nah, you're going to have to bid for this contract. Because they felt, oh, it's an emergency. We want to keep them. We didn't create any infrastructure, but we need a security anyway. So it's like an arms behind your back, handcuffed type of an excuse. When if Eric Adams, when that first bus came, Eric Adams should have turned it right back to go back. That's what he should have did. Because until we have a bureau, a subset of city or state government to address this issue in the best way possible, we should not be bringing them in at this rate, because there are plenty of illegal immigration that happens during the year that had nothing to do necessarily in years past with caravans and things. So it was a lower number, low enough that a bureau would not be needed. But you've got hundreds of thousands now crossing. You've got hundreds of thousands passing through your city now. So it's time for a bureau. Do they do that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So outside of this audit by the comptroller, they were just going to let it rock. I wonder now what's going to happen based off of this information, because we learned a lot of information before in the past and nothing really happened. So I'm wondering what's gonna happen here, because gross negligence, basically gross negligence. It makes me angry because there are so many people who need services, who live here, who are citizens, who were born here, immigrants who went through the process. Yes, it's long. Yes, it's trash that it's long. That is another conversation for another podcast. The process should not be what it is. The backlog should not be what it is. The government can fix it. The government can fix it in a week. They just don't want to. And we'll talk about that in another. Maybe I'll address it in a bonus episode. But it's just disheartening, because now what? You're living in a city and the people who are elected officials who are supposed to manage it really are showing their ass, basically. We kind of know that most politicians, if not all, they're self-seeking. They don't really care about the people at the bottom. They don't really genuinely care about their voters or anything. They care about the vote that their voters give. They don't really care about the voters as people. The rabble, the pores, they don't really care. They say the things, they'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal to get the paycheck that they want to get, to then get paid off by the lobbyists and end up having a net worth of 40-50 million by the time they get out of office. That's the goal. It's humanness and human selfishness and human greed. It's just, now it's not behind the scenes. It's more and more and more just, I don't care no more. These politicians are just like, I don't care what y'all think no more. Because it's clear that the mayor's office, the governor's office is not working for the benefit of the people, as most public officials don't. And it's just sad. Anyway, let's move on. Well, let me know what y'all think about this, because this is wild. Let me know what y'all think about this, just letting these people and not giving a cutoff for the emergency contract, and it's just going open-ended. So the city's just bleeding money, but somehow we're supposed to pull from the budget for police. We're supposed to pull from the budget for schools. We're supposed to pull from the budget for after school programs. We're supposed to pull from the budget of school guards. We're supposed to pull from all these different budgets to funnel in an open-ended amount of money, and then cry that the city's broke. It doesn't make any sense. Let me know what y'all think about that. Our next story, again, New York. We're in New York. We are in New York. This time, the MTA is trash. MTA and the NYPD is trash. And both of these stories kind of have to do with each other with the undercurrent. So, this is according to CBS News, right? NYPD working extended shifts after latest numbers show rise in subway crimes, Adams says. I wonder why. Wonder why there's a rise in subway crimes. Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul are in a new battle of the rails as subway crime skyrockets, and the city wants state funds to put more cops on the trains and the platforms. But this is coming from the same Adams administration that said that we're going to we're not going to call on any more new academy recruits because we don't want to put the money into the NYPD and paying more salaries because we want to divert it to, right? This is the same Adams that said we're gonna pull school guards from schools to divert the money to the migrant, right? Interesting. With New York City subway crimes on the rise this year, the mayor says NYPD officers will be working 12-hour shifts. The mayor says the subway system is averaging about 6 felonies a day, and he wants to see those statistics improve. That's why he's implementing longer shifts for police officers. So according to NYPD's latest CompStat report, transit crime rose 18% in the start of this year compared to the same time last year, with grand larcenies up 22% and felony assaults up 17%. Adams said part of the challenge was losing funding for the city's subway safety plan, which flooded the system with officers in 2022. Interesting. The mayor and the police commissioner have expressed that they are concerned. These numbers are driving fear, and they're trying to go back to 12-hour tours, go back to flooding the subway, go back to higher visibility, explained CBS New York's law enforcement contributor and former NYPD Deputy Commissioner Richard Esposito. When I say go back, that means all of these things stopped for a bit of time. As a temporary solution, the mayor announced officers will begin 12-hour shifts to bolster visibility underground, while his administration works with the Transit Authority and governor's office to see if he can get more financial support. We want officers walking through the trains, being at the platforms, being near the token booth, and identifying where the crime is actually taking place, Adams said. We're seeing a substantial amount of that crime taking place on our subways. There's a lot of things that go on the train, and I feel if there's more real visible officers, it will probably minimize. Probably. Now, the article goes on to talk about Kathy Hochul's response and how, you know, the mayor of New York came to her, Eric Adams came to her with 5 asks for budget, and she greenlit all of those asks, but that this last ask for more money for this, came way after that. So they're going to be assessing what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be doing it going forward. That's the rest of the article. Again, link in the description. Now, what does this have to do with? Oh, wait. There's one more part. Having to do with the MTA. Right. All right. The issue of safety. Hochul, is this Hochul saying this? Nori Mallory, a 58-year-old customer service agent, has a fractured eye socket after being attacked last Wednesday at the Wall Street station. Right. The issue of safety has to be made a priority. In a different effort to improve conditions underground, the MTA is adding LED lighting to 4 subway stations. Officials say riders should notice changes to platforms, mezzanines, and staircases. The brighter lights will also help the hundreds of thousands of cameras the MTA has to capture better images if crime occurs. All stations are scheduled to change over the LED lighting by 2026. Very important. It's going to take them something like $4 million to do that. Remember, we talked in past episodes, for those who maybe didn't listen to one of the other episodes, I talked about how the MTA was a mafia and how seems like they purposefully extend or work slowly on their construction projects in order to siphon money from the city. I don't think there's ever been a construction project the MTA has undertaken on the city's dime that has ever been completed in its projected timing at all. I don't think in the history of the MTA is that a thing. And there was another thing having to do with partnering with the NYPD to put more officers in the subway station and paying more and more overtime. And so I theorized that, or looked at that as the MTA saying, we want to solve the problem, just put some more officers, give us $200 million and we'll pocket the rest of the money, and deal with the officers. There was another instance in another episode where the MTA, for those who don't know, they were figuring out a pilot program, or did a pilot program for different turnstiles that were supposed to limit fare evasion, in the name of fare evasion. It was something like millions and millions of dollars to put these new turnstiles in a few stations. And very quickly, New Yorkers were like, what is this? When you look at them, and you could probably look them up, these turnstiles, I mean, you could just hop over them. You could hop over them easier than the ones that were there originally, which also leads to my understanding, or feeds into my understanding, that the MTA is a mafia, because they'll say, oh, we need to spend $50 million on these turnstiles. This turnstiles really cost maybe $3 million, but then they'll just pocket the rest of that money. It'll go to the CEO's bonuses and whatever other politician that they have to grease the palms of to get stuff done or to get extra money. Another instance is they are saying that they want to change or install new handicap doors at the stations. Again, in the name of combating fare evasion, that when you press the thing to open them, you have to wait for 10 seconds. Which doesn't make any sense because once the door is open, people are just going to go through it anyway. So fare evasion is not really going to get combated, really. And again, they wanted millions and millions of dollars to be able to switch those out. So it's like you're not really combating fare evasion because at the end of the day, they already have the technology to do it, because not only do they have the stand up straight walk through turnstiles, they can replace all of those walk through turnstiles with revolving door turnstiles, which they already have a version of that in existence that they use. If they make all of the turnstiles, all of the entrances, the revolving door turnstiles, it's much more difficult nigh impossible to get onto the train without paying a fare. But they don't do that. The technology is already there. They don't have to do new space age stuff. Just use that same style turnstile that you've been using and put 5 of them, 6 of them. It's not going to take a lot of money. But again, give us 400 million so we could change this, so we could change that. So it doesn't really cost that much. They'll pocket that. So now similarly here, it's going to cost whatever amount of millions to put LED lights, to change the lights to LED lights. LED lights are very cheap. The technology is very inexpensive. I understand that there is a lot of lighting in the subways, but I guarantee you they're overcharging for the labor and for the time. Also, the idea is like they've been complaining about fare evasion year over year over year, but only now you're going to add LED lighting to the subway stations? Only now, when we've pretty much most of New York City, the street lights are LED lights to save money and electricity and all that jazz. So it's like, where's the thinking, right? It's the mafia. We're going to put money in our pockets. Now, the crime rate in the subways, all of this unrest is wild. I mean, think about you bring in an undocumented, unknown, basically, and a grouping of people, significant enough amount. You then pull monies from everybody else, all of the other citizenry around them, in order to support them and basically be loyal to this new unknown population. You're gonna get New Yorkers who are already fed up with Eric Adams, who are already fed up with the MTA, who are already fed up with the prices and the skyrocketing rents for no reason in New York, and the skyrocketing taxes and the skyrocketing electric bills, etc. You're going to get unrest. You're going to get unrest at an unprecedented level. It basically destabilizes the city, the citizenry, and you're going to get a lot of these military-aged younger migrants. They're going to resort to a life of crime, like I said earlier. If they come from that, if they're coming from those kinds of environments, from the countries that they came from, and they're seeing that there's no movement on my citizenship status, it's taking too long, I need a place to live, I need a place to stay, I need to be able to, get some new sneakers, a life of crime is what's going to happen. I'm going to start stealing phones. I'm going to start stealing purses. I'm going to start roughing up the police. So this migrant crisis is touching a lot of different parts of New York City. And I believe that the powers that be who set this in motion knew that this was going to happen. They know this is going to happen. We talked about the ghost voting body already. The Democrats, DNC, Biden administration, powers that be, however you want to describe, are looking for a base. A new base. So they're doing their best to buy a new population base for the votes, a population base that will blindly vote for whoever is giving them food. If you head on over to Social Millennial Podcast on IG, Social Millennial Pod, SocialMillenialPod on IG, you should be able to find it. We shared a few reels about that. I mean, boots on the ground interviews. Someone is telling these people who are crossing the border that they're going to be able to vote, that every migrant is going to have the ability to be able to vote, when it's not true necessarily. It's already in existence, and legislation's on the books in a few states already, and New York City as well, to get these people to be able to vote for like Senate and Congress elections. Not president yet, but that's going to come. Again, my ghost voting body theory, I believe that's episode 44. Go back and listen / watch that episode for the theory in depth. It seems as though the black vote is showing itself to be waking up, right? And waking up not in that, oh, now you're waking up because you're deciding to be Republican. No. It's more so becoming more sensitized to the nuances of what's happening right now. Though a lot of the left-wing media will sort of frame that in terms of, oh, black MAGA people or black people who are not Democrat are not black. Like they'll say things like that. Like the way Biden said that. Like the black voters had to have been asleep by and large, or had to have been somewhat voting blindly, for there to be no public outcry from Black Lives Matter, any other activists, when Biden said that during the election cycle. When he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. There was no outcry. At this point, it seems like if he were to say something like that, there would be an outcry. The polling is showing that, there's not much that the Biden administration can try to do now to even begin to bring their approval ratings to 50%. So the DNC, or the powers that be, however you want to say it, they need a new blind voting base. And what better way than allowing people from other countries to come here, paying their way, giving them food, giving them clothes, promising them a better life off the backs of the citizens of the United States. Basically prioritizing them, basically love bombing them like a narcissist. Love bombing them so that then they could eat out of your hand. They could be indebted to you. So then when they do get the vote, because that's the goal, is really to give them the vote, they're unquestionably going to vote for whoever the DNC candidate is. Because to them, to what they see in their blinders, oh, I'm always going to be loyal to Biden because Biden is the one that let me in the country, and Biden is the one. So again, if y'all don't understand that there is a larger game afoot here, that it's really not always really about Democrat, Republican fighting against each other. It's really a one government thing. It's the government is one animal. We kind of just have this Republican Democrat fight thing to keep it entertaining. Because again, at the end of the day, if it mattered really to whatever the agenda is, the Biden administration could fund, could staff the Customs and Immigration of the United States Department by 1,000%. They can get the backlog done in 2 weeks, offering jobs, because this is basically data entry. This is basically, does this check out? Does that check out? Does that check out? Does that check out? They could get it done, but they don't. When Trump was in office, he could have got it done, kind of. I say he could have, but remember, I'm talking about the whole government, so Congress, Senate. They're not going to get that done because they don't really care. The Democrats don't really care, and the Republicans don't really care. Really. They'll say that they do, but if they care for the same things, if it is that the Democrats are for the betterment of the betterment of the citizenry, and if it is that the Republicans are for the betterment of citizenry, it should not be a problem for them to come together, quote unquote, come together, the two sides, and work for the better of the citizenry. That's not what they do. They disagree with things. And I do use disagree loosely because, again, it's really about my constituents. It's really about the lobbyists. It's really about whose pocket that I'm in terms of the politician. And am I serving the interests of the people whose pockets that I'm in? It's basically what it is. And that goes for Democrat, that goes for Republican. That's how that works. But anyway, thank y'all so much for pulling up to the podcast. New people, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you stayed for this long. Let me know what y'all think about what I've been talking about. This whole idea that it's kind of just one government. Human greed and selfishness is basically what is politics. Basically, it is what it is. It is the definition of what politics is. How can I get over on you? What's the best? How can I deceive the cogs in the machine? How can I deceive the pores into continuing to run on their hamster wheel so that eventually their work will trickle into my pocket? What's the best way we can just keep that going? Let me know what y'all think about that idea. Thank y'all so much. In the comments, let us know, what you want us to talk about on the podcast. Maybe some interesting, pick my brain a little bit. I can do rant videos. I can do some more in-depth videos as well and offer that on the Patreon. Absolutely. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what y'all think. We want to hear what y'all feel. We want to get a sense of the kind of things that y'all like to hear me talk about. Thank you so much for making it this far. Again, Social Millennial Podcast is on all social media platforms except X. We're on Twitter. No, we're not on Snapchat, X and Snapchat. We are on IG. We're on Facebook. We are on TikTok, and we are on YouTube. Those of you watching, thank you so much. This is episode 57. We're getting there, y'all. We're inching our way towards 100. Thank y'all so much. I hope y'all have a great week. Y'all listening, thank y'all for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Head on over to Patreon. Enjoy that bonus episode. All right, y'all. And I'll see you on the next one. Deuces.